The other day I did a video talking about how ambitions are delusions, yeah, and it's very true. Ambitions are delusions, right? But see, when you strive towards a goal, you have to make sure that it's realistic. Okay. Now, of course, it becomes a contradiction. You know, it's a delusion. A great goal is a delusion, but at the same time, you have to be realistic. You know, which is it? Well, it's both. And let me explain. Say, for instance, I say that I want to go to the moon. Yeah, I want to go to the moon right now. Just want to go to the moon, right? And I'm going to work towards getting to the moon. Now, you hear that and you say, you know, the guy is fucking insane, right? But say that, for the sake of argument, that I'm a billionaire. And I realize that there are a discrete number of steps in order for me to get to the moon, right? I have to take some of my billions, you know, and I have to build myself a rocket ship. And I have to hire the scientists and the engineers, of course, to build a rocket and to build a spaceship and to build a lunar module. And I have to hire these people and they have to do a set amounts of work and they have to do a whole bunch of stuff in order for that to happen. Well, all of a sudden, you know, the goal becomes realistic, right? But actually, what do you mean by realistic? By realistic, what you're actually saying is that to achieve the goal, no matter how distant or how seemingly impossible, you have to reduce it to discrete steps. So long as you reduce your goal, let me phrase that, so long as you are able to reduce your goal to a series of little things that you have to do, you can make any goal. You can achieve anything. You just have to make sure that each step on the way to the goal is achievable. Let me give you another example. Suppose I tell you that I'm going to go up half a mile. I'm going to climb half a mile. I'm going to get up to half a mile above the ground, right? And you say, well, that's impossible. You know, you're going to need a helicopter, but you don't have a helicopter. So how are you going to get up half a mile off the ground, right? You know, say that we're in New York City. We're in New York City. And I'm telling you that I am going to get half a mile off the ground, right? And I'm not going to use any kind of machine. No, I'm going to get a half a mile above ground, all on my lonesome, on my own power, right? And you're going to be like, oh my God, how is that possible? You can't do that, blah, 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 blah. And then, you know, I go down to the Freedom Tower, smirk at the name, but they go down to the Freedom Tower, go to the stairwell and start climbing, right? I start climbing up 100 flights of stairs, you know? And yeah, I'm going to wind up being, you know, half a mile above the ground. Yeah? And is it achievable? Sure, it's achievable. It's achievable. It's going to take me a while. It'll take me, I don't know, an afternoon or maybe a whole day. I don't know how long it takes to climb the stairs, 100-odd flights of stairs, right? But it's achievable. Why? Because each step on the climb is achievable. Therefore, the overall goal is achievable. I will wind up half a mile above the ground by going up each and every step of the staircase on the Freedom Tower. It's inevitable, yeah? Because each step is achievable. And so that's what you have to do with any great goal, with any great mountaintop that you wish to achieve. You have to figure out all the intermediary steps in order to reach that great goal. Every step of the way, you have to be able to figure out, I have to do this, then I have to do that, then I have to do this other thing. And you have to get to that point where every step along the way is achievable. That's how you achieve a great goal. And that's why just about anything imagined by a man can be achieved by a man. Because anything that you imagine, no matter how ludicrous or difficult it might seem to be, it requires a finite number of steps to achieve. Now, it could be that, you know, from the get-go, you cannot achieve some goal because you don't have something essential necessary for that goal. For instance, you know, I said before that, you know, I have the dream of going to the moon, right? But I don't have $1 billion or a few $1 billion necessary to achieve that goal. So, of course, I'm not going to go. I'm not going to be able to hire the people to go. And so that dream, it's just not going to happen, right? But you're going to know that almost from the get-go, right? You're going to know from almost the moment you start to imagine some goal that you can or can't achieve it because of some crucial thing that you lack. But it could be that crucial thing that you lack, you can get it. It could be that you actually know how to get it. A lot of times you have some goal and you think that you can't achieve it, but you start breaking it down and start to realize what is really necessary, and you start to realize that you can achieve it. For instance, in this absurd notion of me going to the moon, yeah, I don't have $1 billion, or maybe it'll cost $10 billion to get to the moon, but perhaps I know, or I can get to know, like say investment bankers who can put me in touch with clients. These clients have the cash, not individually perhaps, but a group of them, I can put them all together and put together $10 billion. And with these $10 billion, I can pay the engineers and the scientists and what have you to build a rocket to go to the moon. You see what I mean? Because a lot of times you don't need to have something. You don't need to have $1 billion or $10 billion. You just need to get it from somewhere in order to achieve your dream. See, a lot of guys think that if you don't have everything necessary to achieve some goal, you can't reach it. But a lot of times you don't need to have those things. You just need to be able to use them for a moment. Sort of like renting cars, for instance. You're living in New York City and you want to get down to Washington, D.C., right? And you don't have a car. Well, do you need to spend $30,000 to drive from New York to Washington, D.C.? No, of course not, because you can rent a car. You can rent a car or an Uber or whatever the fuck. You just need a fraction of that money because you don't need to own the car. You just need to rent it for the weekend or however long you're going to need it to go down to DC. You see my point. A lot of guys fall for the trap of thinking that if they don't have this essential thing, if they don't own this thing, if it's not completely theirs, then there's no possibility of them reaching some goal or some mountaintop. And no, you got to think out of the box, be flexible. Understand that a lot of times to reach some goal, you don't need to possess those qualities or that resource, the money, the this, that, the other. You don't need to own it. You can sometimes get away with just renting it. You see what I mean? See, the guys who automatically shoot down any idea, right? Any dream, what's going on is that they are afraid, ultimately. See? Because if they weren't afraid, they'd try to think outside the box. See? In the dream of going to the moon, I don't have $10 billion. And so they would automatically say, oh, so you can't do it. But then I say, well, if I get to know investment bankers who can put together the financing from investors, then I can go to the moon. And they'll come up with more blocks, more obstacles, right? And that's why when I did the video before, about how ambitions are delusions. See, these are guys that you have to avoid, the naysayers, right? Because they will always look at a problem, and whatever that problem may be, they will automatically think it's insurmountable. See? Because for them, to achieve some great goal, the only way they will try to achieve it is if all the steps are so obvious and simple, like climbing the staircase at the Freedom Tower. They will only go for some goal that is, incredibly easy. These are the guys who go to college to get a good job. These are the guys who go into debt for $50,000 to get some pointless education so that they can get a job, and they say that one day, someday, they'll be an entrepreneur. Yeah? You know that most of the big entrepreneurs of our times, Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, Zuckerberg, all these people, right? They never finished college. They didn't. Yeah, they didn't bother because they knew that it was pointless. Yeah, a college degree was not really necessary. Yeah, but these guys who are always the perpetual naysayers, the guys who will try to wake you up from the delusion of your ambition, right? These guys, they will always see an obstacle in any step towards some great goal. And they will always play it safe. They will always do what other people have done. They will always want things given to them on a fucking silver platter. They will never try to use their imagination to get over the obstacle. They will never try to use their imagination and ingenuity to understand that the step from here to here is difficult, but there are ways that we can make these steps smaller so that we can get there. They will never try to use their brains to overcome the obstacles. On the contrary, they will use their brains to create obstacles. These are the people you want to avoid. You want to stay the fuck away from them. Yeah. These guys will always say that it can't be done, right? Everything can be done. Everything. Anything. If you can dream it, you can be it. And that stupid line from the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Yeah? If you can dream it, you can be it. Because, like I said, everything imagined by man can be achieved by a man. All that's required are the steps. And that's why it's important to set realistic goals. But see, that's the thing. To each man, to you who are watching this, to each of you, a realistic goal is going to be a different thing. See? Because, for instance, some guys are going to say that the only realistic goal is to get a good education at a good college and get a good job. That's as far as their imagination can cope. See, a good imagination, a strong imagination, a bountiful imagination. Why is it so important? See, because when you strive towards imagining things that are not possible, and you have a strong imagination, what will happen is that it'll help you figure out ways to elude the obstacles. You see what I mean? Let me rephrase it. I'm not making my point here. I don't think I am. So let me turn it around a little bit. You see, guys who solve puzzles, right? You know, Sudoku and those kinds of puzzles, Rubik's Cube or whatever, right? What do they get good at? They get good at problem solving, right? Problem solving in the Sudoku or problem solving in the Rubik's Cube, right? You have to understand that all of the ambitions that you have in life, they're just a series of problems. Now, of course, there are no ways to practice these problems. See, in life, the problems that will arise, they will arise because of human psychology, or they will arise because of things that there are, no templates that happened before. You'll have to figure it out on your own. See? And so what happens is that guys who have a lot of imagination, or who have developed a lot of imagination, or guys who are not afraid to try anything in order to succeed, which pretty much makes up for imagination, right? They're the guys who are going to see all the steps to reaching some great goal as just steps that can be achieved. See? The sensible people, the undiluted people, the people who do not fall for the insanity of a great goal, right? And instead just keep their head down, and just take out the loans and go to college and be a good little fucking drone in this rapacious society. Well, they're the ones who are never going to amount to anything. See? You have to see every obstacle as just a problem to be solved, not as an obstacle that cannot be overcome. Yeah, and so to the degree that you are able to see every problem as just an obstacle to be overcome, and every step in your path to your great goal as just, a little issue that has to be solved and that can be solved, to the extent that you see the world that way, you will achieve the great goal. To the extent that you see every obstacle as insurmountable, to the extent that you see every problem that arises as something that cannot be solved, and that you just have to sit there, and just accept it, you're the guy who's never going to be able to achieve any great goal, right? You're never going to be able to rise up and achieve the things that you dream. What kind of life is that? Is that the life that you want? Is that the life that will make you happy? The life of just sitting there passively and not striving towards your goal, your dream? So the title of this video is Setting Realistic Goals. And so what are realistic goals? Very simple. They are goals where you can see all the steps to achieving them, and you know that you can make every step. And you might not have the ability to do so right this second when you start on your journey, but you have the self-confidence in your own abilities to say to yourself, yeah, when I get to that obstacle that right now I have no idea how to figure out, by the time I get there, I'll be able to figure it out. Well, then that is a realistic goal. It's simple as that, see? You just have to have the confidence to believe that you can solve the problems now, and by the time you get to what appear to be insurmountable problems, you will have the tools to solve them. or you know that you can reach out to different people who can help you solve them, okay? If you have that confidence, then you've set a realistic goal. But you have to understand it's something that I'm trying to really hammer in on this video, and I don't think I've been very successful at it. But see, there is no goal that is unrealistic. None whatsoever. No matter how hard the goal might seem when you start, it is achievable. I said at the beginning of this video, you know, imagine climbing up to half a mile above the ground, right? And you know, you think to yourself, oh, a helicopter or this or that, it's impossible, right? But it is possible. You know, just take one step after the next, And some of the steps on that stairwell, you know, they're going to be easy. No problem. You'll be able to climb them up lickety-split. Sometimes those steps are going to be kind of hard. You know, it's not going to be just 6 inches off the ground that you're going to have to step up on. No, sometimes it's going to be a couple of feet. Yeah, but it can be done. You don't need climbing gear. You don't need anything. You can do it, but you have to believe that you can do it and understand that the goal is just a series of steps. Man, I'm not happy with this fucking video, but you know, I guess it'll just have to do.